Thank you, Madam Chair. And my first question will go to Mr. Gill. Mr. Gill, I guess the question is, you're a very serious investor, somebody who does his homework, invests in the market, your own personal funds. And so I guess the question would be here today, we're discussing the actions around Robinhood, all the transactions that took place. And I guess, do you think we need more legislation as a result of what happened here, or did the system actually work? And let me just make a couple comments on that part. From the standpoint that did it work, was it self-correcting? Did the fact that somebody like yourself was able to invest and maybe take advantage of the over-shorting positions by the hedge fund guys who were trying to really drive down the price of the stock for other reasons, whatever, or did it point out perhaps that we had some companies, perhaps like Robinhood, I would argue that was undercapitalized or under-reserved? Or maybe there was over aggressive other types of investing that was taking place. The algorithms that were there, the different business models, they didn't work because you outsmarted the system, so to speak. Would you like to comment on that, on that sort of questions and how I formatted that?
Thank you for the question, Congressman. I would say my expertise is in analyzing the business, the fundamentals of the business, not so much on the inner workings of the market. I'm not so sure about legislation per se. What I would say is that increased transparency could help. That if someone like me could have a better understanding of how those types of things work, I feel as though it would be quite beneficial to retail investors.
Thank you for that. I know that Mr. Tevin, Robinhood has an interesting name. As I recall, the old story is take from the rich, give to the poor. And I assume what you're doing is allowing the poor to compete with the rich, which is interesting. You made the comment in your testimony, Mr. Tevin, about settling this in real time. We have the electronic ability to do this. I think that would probably help the situation that occurred here. But what other problems occur when you do this in real time? What other things would we have to look at? What other unintended consequences would there be if you did something like that?
Thank you, Congressman, for the question. I believe that right now, certain market participants rely on next day settlement to be able to take advantage of intraday netting and run up larger one-sided positions in certain stocks with the knowledge that they can close those positions or reduce them by the time settlement happens. And I understand that would be a limitation to the trading activities of some of these institutions. So that's certainly one area to consider. The other is around securities lending. We'd have to make changes to how securities lending works. I don't think any of these are insurmountable challenges, and I'd be happy, as I mentioned earlier, to deploy our intellectual capital and our team's engineering resources to help solve these problems very quickly.
Thank you for that. Mr. Plotkin and Mr. Griffin, the question is for both of you here. Whenever you're short selling, I understand that GameStop stock was short sold 140%. And Mr. Plotkin, you made the comment in your testimony a minute ago that you were not trying to manipulate stock. Yet if you're short selling a stock 140%, for me, on the outside looking in, it looks like that's exactly what you're doing. Explain to me why that's not manipulating the stock.
Thank you, Congressman. For us, I can't speak to other people that were shorted. Anytime we short a stock, we locate a borrow. Our systems actually force us to find a borrower. So we always, short stocks within the context of all the rules.
Mr. Griffin, would you like to comment on that? You guys are both market makers and brokers and hedge fund guys. I mean, you do all of it. Why is this not considered manipulating a stock whenever you can short sell at 140%? Don't you think there should be a limit on something like that?
So I believe that the short interest in GameStop was exceptional, and I'm not sure it's worth us delving into legislative corrections for a very unique situation in terms of the extreme size of the short interest. I will say that all of the large market participants, in fact, every bank, every hedge fund does have to comply with the requirement to borrow shares to short shares in the course of their day in and day out business. The practice of naked shorting was largely curtailed by SEC mandate years ago.
The gentleman's time has expired.